Hi there, I'm going to do a very quick video on question 2 for paper 2. However, if you're looking at paper 1 reading as well, it's just the same. It's the how question, question 2, 3 or 4. So the extract we're looking at is a non-fiction. It's about the Grand National, so a famous horse race in England. And the extract is about banning the Grand National because it's dangerous. Remember, you must time manage on this question. It's a 10-mark question. So rather than aim for a particular amount of quotes, just try and do as many quotes as you can in 13 to 15 minutes and then move on. Ideally, we want to get to at least 5 quotes, 5, 6, 7, 8 quotes. But like I say, after 13 minutes, move on. Question is, how does Andrew Tyler try to convince his readers that the Grand National should be banned? So obviously Andrew Tyler is the writer of the article. It's a 10-mark question. So we want a lot of quotes, and the reason is if you don't put many quotes, you can really only get, if you put 2 quotes, for example, you're going to be lucky to get more than 2 out of 10. And if you do lots of quotes like this person, you're going to get a lot of quotes, a lot of marks. Try to think of it as a mark a quote. Remember, we want a little explanation about a lot of quotes as opposed to a massive explanation about a small amount of quotes. So you need to have a range of quotes, like I said, and what I mean by that is from the beginning, middle and end of the extract. So here, if we looked at another extract, if you took quotes from just the bits where the red are, then you're going to struggle because it doesn't look like you've read the whole extract. While if you take it from the whole of the extract like this, the examiner is going to like it. So again, the question is, how does Andrew Tyler convince his readers the Grand National should be banned? And that is the key part, the specific part we need. So you're going to be looking at the article and trying to highlight 5 to 10 quotes where the writer has deliberately used words, so on purpose, to make the Grand National sound bad, abusive, violent, or a negative thing. So hopefully you should be able to see it. If not, well, you should be able to see it. So I won't read it. But look for 5 or 10 quotes, pause the video, and try to find the quotes that are bad, abusive, violent, negative. Pause the video. So here are the ones I've found that are banned, as in the writers used to try to make it sound like the race should be banned. So I put 2 horses died in this year's race. It's described as grueling. One of the horse broke its neck. It's called notorious. There are gasps of horror from the crowd. They said it was meant to be safer, then he used a short sentence. No, it's not. It's a deliberately hazardous. It's predictably lethal. It's long distance. It's extremely dangerous. It's depraved. It's like bullfighting. It's animal abuse. It's a bloody ruthless business. They're raced to death. They have permanent injuries. Falling on dry ground is like landing on concrete. It's a national disgrace. Many of the horses definitely suffer, if not die. It's grueling and demanding. It's distressing for the horses. 17 deaths in the last 16 years. You can't avoid horses being killed. So if we're looking for 6 or 7 or 8 quotes, there's almost like 20 there that you could pick out. So remember, if you're struggling in the exam to explain a particular quote, don't spend 3 or 4 minutes thinking about it. Just pick a different one and go with that one. So on this question, the how question, or any of the questions that are asking you about writer's choice of words, they're exactly the same as the paper 1 questions. If you revise that, explain why you picked the quote and what the words mean for the reader. Use as many quotes as you can in 13 minutes. Remember, don't think to yourself, oh, I've got to get to 6 quotes. If after 2 minutes you've done, if after 13 minutes you've done 2 quotes, if after 13 minutes you've done 8 quotes, you move on to the next question to finish the exam. Remember, if the quote is obvious, you don't always need to explain it because the examiner loves quotes, quotes, quotes. So for example, the quotation was, there's been 17 deaths in the last 16 years. The question is, why should it be banned? So just put the writer convinces the reader it should be banned as there have been 17 deaths in the last 16 years. That's such an obvious quote, we don't need to explain it. So don't waste time writing an explanation where you're basically just going to repeat your points. Remember, if it's a really obvious quote that you don't need to go deeper into, just put the quote into a sentence like this. Okay, so why should it be banned? Here's an example. The horses will definitely suffer. So definitely suffer is my quotation. So why does that mean to the readers it should be banned? Because it says there's no way of avoiding horses being in pain during or after the Grand National. So there's my quote, and that's how it convinces the reader. So for example, definitely tells me that it's 100% sure that the horses will be in pain, and suffer again makes us feel like it's not just they're in a little pain. Suffer like it sounds like they're in a huge amount of pain. Another quote, have a think about it before I put the image up. Horse racing is a bloody business. We're going to zoom into bloody. Okay, so what does bloody suggest about what happens to the horses? Well, pretty obvious. If it's bloody, it's violent, it's painful, it's horrible. So let's put that into a P paragraph. One way he convinces us is by calling the Grand National bloody, which shows it's violent. So it's one sentence. All I'm doing is saying why my quote is portraying the Grand National in a negative way. It's almost being that dictionary or a thesaurus. Why has the word bloody been used? The writer could have just put horse racing as a business. They put bloody in there intentionally to tell us that the horses get hurt. Okay, same quote, but this time we're going to zoom into business. So this image demonstrates, doesn't it? It's not about the horses, it's about money. Okay, so they're not really, you could argue, they're not worried about the horses, it's all about people earning money. So, okay, simple one again. Business shows people are more in it for the money rather than the health of horses. Okay, another one. Falling on dry ground is like landing on concrete. Why has the writer bothered to put that in there? Maybe it's to give the reader a comparison to how we would feel. Yeah, so they're comparing, they're almost saying to the reader, well, obviously you're not a horse, but this is how it would feel if it was you. So what's landing on concrete? It's very painful, isn't it? So I put, he says the horse is falling is like landing on concrete, which shows the reader a comparison for the pain the horses are going through. So we can all imagine what happens if we landed on concrete. It's a deliberately hazardous event. So this is another one where you could probably zoom into two things. So first of all, hazardous means dangerous, like Homer Simpson's showing here. But deliberately, think about what that means. Why is it could have just put it's a hazardous event. The writer's put deliberately in there to tell the reader that it's done on purpose. Yeah? So, deliberately hazardous shows Grand National is intentionally made dangerous for the horses. So the course is made dangerous on purpose, so it's more entertaining for the crowd. But again, the other side of that is it's more dangerous for the horses. Okay, it's a national disgrace. So national meaning the whole of England. So why has the writer put that? They could have just put disgrace. So we could have, he also calls it a national disgrace, which suggests to the reader the whole country should be ashamed that this race is taking part in our country. So again, disgrace is something that we should be embarrassed about, something awful that is happening. Okay, remember, again, if the quote is obvious, you don't always need to explain it. So these two quotes at the top, 2 horses died in this year's race, there have been 17 deaths at the event in the past 16 years. You could explain these if you wanted to. You could explain these if you wanted to, but they're so obvious I don't think you need to. If you wanted to, you could write about statistics and facts and things like that, but I would just put it into a sentence. He said it should be banned because 2 horses died in this year's race and there have been 17 deaths in the event in the past 16 years. Nice and simple, we don't need to do it. Okay, so there they all are. So what you should be thinking of really is, you go through the text with a highlighter, you highlight your 7 or 8 texts, and then in order, just tell me why each of them are a negative thing for the Grand National. Okay, so pause that if you want to. So remember for the reading, time manage, do PEs on question 2 and question 4. Try and do as many quotes as you can in 13 minutes. Move on to the next question when your time is up. 5 minutes for a low mark question and 13 minutes for a 10 mark question.